My name is Ethan Carter. If you had met me 10 years ago, you would have thought I had it all figured out. I grew up in a quiet suburban town in Ohio, in a house that looked perfect from the outside. My parents, Richard and Linda Carter, believed in discipline, reputation, and doing things the right way. And for most of my life, I followed that script. I was the oldest of three. My younger sister Hannah was the golden child, perfect grades, perfect smile. My little brother Tyler was still finding himself, but he had the freedom I never did. Because for me, there were expectations. I was supposed to become a lawyer. That was the plan. Not a suggestion. Not a dream, a plan. But somewhere along the way, I realized something that terrified me. I didn't want that life. I didn't want the suits, the long hours, the constant pressure to prove something I didn't even believe in. What I wanted was something completely different. I wanted to build something of my own. It started small. A laptop, late nights, quiet determination. I got into digital design and online business. At first, it was just curiosity. Then it became passion. Then it became everything. But when I told my parents, that's when everything began to fall apart. I still remember that night. We were sitting at the dinner table. The smell of roasted chicken filled the room. Everything felt normal until I spoke. I'm not going to law school. The silence that followed was heavy. My father slowly put down his fork. His eyes didn't show anger right away, just disappointment. What do you mean? He asked, his voice calm but cold. I mean, I've found something else. I want to start my own business. I've already been working on it, and you're throwing your future away, he cut in sharply. My mother sighed, shaking her head like I had just said something embarrassing. This is just a phase, Ethan. But it wasn't. And when I didn't back down, they didn't either. The arguments got louder. The distance grew wider. And eventually, the ultimatum came. If you walk away from this path, my father said one night, his voice firm and final, don't expect us to support you. I remember standing there, heart racing, hands slightly shaking, but something inside me refused to break. I'm not asking for support, I said quietly. I'm asking you to understand. But they didn't. And that was the moment everything changed. Within weeks, I moved out. No dramatic goodbye. No emotional hug. Just a quiet exit. Like I never really belonged there to begin with. At first, it was brutal. I struggled financially. I took on small freelance projects just to survive. There were nights I skipped meals. Days I questioned everything. Was I wrong? Did I just ruin my life? But every time doubt crept in, something deeper pushed me forward. Because for the first time in my life, I was choosing myself. Years passed. Slowly, painfully, things began to change. My business started growing. What began as small freelance gigs turned into consistent clients. Then partnerships. Then something bigger. By the time I was 28, I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was thriving. I had my own apartment in Chicago. A small but loyal team. A life I built from nothing, with no safety net. And the strangest part? I felt peaceful. Not perfect, not easy, but peaceful. I hadn't spoken to my family in almost 6 years. No calls, no messages, no birthdays. At first it hurt. Then it became normal. Then it became quiet. Until one day, everything changed. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I was in my office going over a new project when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. But something told me to answer. Hello? There was a pause. Then a voice I hadn't heard in years. Ethan, it's me. My chest tightened instantly. It was Hannah. For a moment, I couldn't speak. 6 years. And now suddenly, she calls? Hey, I finally said, my voice steady but distant. What's going on? She hesitated. And then I heard it. Not confidence. Not pride. I didn't know who else to call. That sentence hit differently. Not because it felt good, but because it felt real. What happened? I asked. There was another pause. And then she said something I never expected. Dad's business. It's collapsing. My father had built his company over decades. It was his pride, his identity. And now it was falling apart. Bad investments, debt, legal issues. Everything was unraveling. And I asked, my tone careful. Hannah swallowed. They need help. Of course they did. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. 6 years of silence. 6 years of being treated like I didn't exist. And now, suddenly, I'm needed? It would have been easy to say no. Honestly, part of me wanted to. But another part, the part that had grown through all that pain, stayed calm. What kind of help? I asked. Turns out, they needed someone to rebuild their online presence, restructure parts of the business, basically everything I had spent years mastering. They didn't say it directly, but it was obvious. They needed me. I agreed to meet, not because I forgot what happened, but because I wanted closure. Walking back into that house after 6 years felt surreal. Everything looked the same, but nothing felt the same. My mother greeted me first. Her smile was soft, uncertain. "Ethan, you look good." I nodded. "So do you." But we both knew. This wasn't about small talk. Then my father walked in. Older, tired, different, for the first time in my life. He didn't look in control. We stood there for a moment, two versions of the past facing each other. And then he spoke. "I didn't think you'd come." I met his eyes. I almost didn't. The conversation that followed wasn't easy. There were no dramatic apologies. No emotional speeches. Just truth. Raw, uncomfortable, necessary truth. "I built something successful," I said calmly. "Without your support. Without your approval." He nodded slowly. "I know. And now, you need help with something I was once criticized for." Heavy silence. Then finally, I was wrong. That moment meant more than I expected. Not because it erased the past, but because it acknowledged it. Over the next few weeks, I helped them. But this time, on my terms. Clear boundaries, respect, professional structure. No emotional manipulation. No control. Just work. And something strange happened. We didn't become the same family again. But we became something healthier. Something real. Because sometimes, healing doesn't mean going back. It means moving forward. Differently. Sometimes the people who walk away from you don't realize your value until they need it. But you don't owe your past, your future. You don't owe anyone access to the version of you they once ignored. Growth changes you. Pain shapes you. And strength comes from choosing yourself, even when it costs everything.